Welcome to our show on today. We are now ready to present the evidence, the proof that Kenneth Grimble did physically attack his fourth wife. Now, he has also physically abused wife number 1, 2, 3, and 4, but this was the report that we were able to identify according to public records. So, what's interesting is Mr. Grimble actually did a Facebook post. This guy is really a comical type of guy, which is full of lies, but we're going to prove that he is a liar. His Facebook post reads, "I will do this trial for all those afflicted by one who is not submitted to God, but submits to Satan. For those who can question my integrity, I salute you, God, I shall not be moved. I am not ashamed of my past, present, and promises. I was accused but not convicted of domestic violence. I am an advocate of domestic violence, and I am the one that is against false accusers. Those who know me, turn on your discernment. Up until now, I did not understand the magnitude of ministry. Usury is not an option for me and those who appreciate the task and test at hand." Now, if any of you have ever had a sister or mother or anyone physically abused by a man, and to hear him publicly lie like this, or a woman has been raped and her rapist, her accuser actually states, I've never done anything of such. I'm getting ready to show you that this man is a liar, because by his own words he admitted what had happened on that night. This is the public records of the police report of Kenneth Grimble in domestic battery. And it states, in summary, on June the 20th, 2012, at 20:09, I was dispatched to 808 South 23rd Street in reference to domestic battery. Upon arrival, I saw Kenneth Grimble exit the front door of the residence. Kenneth Grimble was breathing heavily and covered with sweat. Suspect Grimble asked me to step to the resident driveway so that he could speak with me. While Suspect Grimble was attempting to walk to the driveway, his wife, victim Diane Grimble, exited the residence and stated, "I am the one who called you about him." I asked the assisting officer, Bivens, number 549, to stay with Suspect Grimble while we spoke to the victim. The victim told me that she and Suspect Grimble were involved in a verbal altercation about business funds. The victim said that Suspect Grimble called a friend over to the house to assist him in changing the locks on the doors in the residence to prevent the victim from gaining access to certain rooms in the residence. The victim said that after the locks were changed, Suspect Grimble continued with the verbal altercation. The victim said that the suspect became enraged and grabbed her by the chin and her back in the back of her neck. While holding the victim by the chin and neck, the suspect forced her to the ground in the living room area. The victim said that after she was forced to the ground, the suspect stood over her, took her keys, and made gestures as if he was about to strike her with a closed fist. The victim said that the suspect told her multiple times, "I'm going to take your life tonight. Tonight you are going to meet your maker." The victim told me that she attempted to protect herself by placing her arms over her face and telling the suspect, okay, I'm sorry. The victim told me that the suspect stopped standing over her and exited the residence once the suspect entered into his vehicle and left. The victim called police for assistance. So once Kenneth Grimble left the house, Diane Grimble called the police. The police he states, I spoke with the suspect and he confirmed the victim's course of events. Now, this is where I want you to pay attention to. Kenneth Grimble confirmed and admitted to the physical abuse of his own wife. And he states, the police states, however, the suspect did say he did not force the victim to the floor. So yes, I choked her, but I did not force her to the floor. The victim said that she had been married and living with the suspect for 1 year, and they have no children together. The victim said that the suspect had battered her 3 times in the past year. And Sojourn, which is a location, Sojourn is a place in Springfield for battered women. They had been contacted and had advised her. The victim was given a copy of the Domestic Violence Act and report number. Okay, it goes on. It goes on to say, the police officer, then of course they have to, if you're telling them that you have been physically abused at that time, what they normally do is they look for the evidence. And this is what he stated. I observed a scratch on the victim's neck. The scratch appeared, it was a recent mark, raised, red, and swollen. The scratch area of the victim's neck was visible for photos. Okay, so we also see here that she stated that he had choked her, and then we see around her neck that there was actually marks and it was swollen. The victim refused medical attention at the scene, and the suspect Grimble was placed into custody. Why was he placed into custody? Because of what the police officer observed, not because a man and a woman got into an argument. Normally when there's an argument, they separate them. Somebody leaves the house or something to that extent. But they placed them into custody, and the charge was domestic battery. They put handcuffs on him, they double cuffed him, checked for proper adjustment. The suspect Grimble was placed into the rear of the marked car. Seat belts were not used due to the suspect's size. Okay, because he's very large, very huge, and was unable to be in the seat belt. And plus he said he had shoulder pains. So upon arrival at SCSO, he says, I turned the suspect over to CO Bell number 4097. Now, you got to understand that this man admitted to doing physical abuse to this woman. She then, the next day, and we will show proof of that, filed an emergency order of protection because she did not want him to get out and return back to the house. Now, Ms. Grimble had on many occasions tried to get help from her spiritual mother, who counseled Mr. Grimble. But she had no success because just as wife number 1, number 2, number 3, she had no authority over him because he did whatever he wanted to do. We want to read something here, and we talk about why do Christian husbands abuse their wives. And this question came to a woman that had asked a man that's in a very high spiritual position. And what he says is, dear friend, Christian men physically and emotionally abuse their wives because of several reasons. The first reason is that they can. They know they can. And yes, generally men are taught that it's all right to be rough and mean, including those men who are spiritual leaders. Society has allowed men to be abusive to their wives and family. When we hear of a man abusing his wife, often the question is asked. The first thing they ask the wife is, what did you do to make him get so mad? Or they will ask, say you would need to be more understanding of your husband, even when a woman is being physically and emotionally abused by her husband. And it's interesting because even some of the comments on Mr. Grimble's page after many people, some of his friends, Facebook friends, has actually seen evidence. They say, how could you are trying to make this man of God look bad. They're not looking at the fact that we have 4 women who've been abused, psychologically abused, and physically abused by this man. And what we would like to ask women out there that is supporting Mr. Grimble is, have you ever been physically abused by a man? Have a man ever hit you? And how did that make you feel? Mr. Grimble cannot continue to get away with abusing women and then turning it around as though I've done nothing wrong. I am falsely accused. He is truly a liar. He's a user and he's a deceiver. And it is time that people like him be exposed. You do not have the right, no matter what spiritual position you hold, you do not have a right to put your hand on that woman of God. You're guilty. And the only reason why wife number 4 did not file charges, because the judge was ready to file charges. He had totally destroyed their home with a hammer. He did a lot of damage to their home and put fear in all the women that he was with. His spiritual mother talked her out of filing charges. And this is what we do. We cover up. We cover up men who are in their home. We brush it under the table. What is it going to take? Is it going to take someone losing their lives for us to pay attention to, wow, we didn't know this was going on? This is why we will continue to expose men like Kenneth Grimble, who's using his title, who's using his position, a position truly that is self-based. Because as we've done our homework, he is not the apostle that he is claiming to be. He's a fraud. We thank you, and we appreciate those who are continually to follow this story, because there are more Kenneth Grimbles that are out there. And we want to put a stop to this. But for some young woman of God,